Oh, what the heck? I tried to actually schedule one of these for once, and apparently when I pressed go live to like stream it, it instantly just went live. So I apologize as you saw me setting up all my stuff there. Super awkward start to the stream, off to an amazing start. I was getting everything ready here because I have my computer, and last time that worked super well because I was able to see all the comments and everything like that as I was going through it. So maybe I can edit that out or something. I don't know. So, anyways, yeah, I just have a little bit of time right now. I do apologize again for that super random intro. And let me see if I can get this all set and ready to go here so I can stop being so incredibly awkward. All right. Okay. We are here now. Really weird. Okay. Sorry. So I was trying to set this up, and what I did was I set it up to set like at 9:05 so I can get everything ready and good to go. But when I clicked it, it just went live right away. So that's on me right there. I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm great. I'm great. Is audio good? Because I had a problem last time with it as well. So I wanted to make sure that was going good as well. Now, this is just standard. So if you guys haven't popped in on any of my live streams before or anything, it's nothing incredibly wonderful. I just work on arrows, clean stuff, and just stuff that I normally do on my own. And then I just stream live because it's a good time to communicate. And I also get great conversations because one of them actually, that's where I got the idea for the D&D video that I just published 2 days ago or whatever it was. Someone actually suggested that on the channel. So it was super, super cool because I was able to build that off of an idea someone gave me. And that's just fun. These things are just cool to hang out with. And as you guys know, with this YouTube channel, honestly, my big thing is it's just a community event, right? So everything I do is I want to share it with people who are like-minded and enjoy the same kind of content and videos. And if there's things you guys have that you would love to see, whether that be with the bow, the sling, or any other type of weapons or armor, I am all for it 110%. And I got a few kind of in the pipeline right now that I'm working on. The next one I'm going to do is going to be like training for heavy bows. I've actually had quite a few people ask about that as far as how to get stronger in a bow, how to slowly build up your strength for heavier bows. And so I did one of those, I think, in the past. It's been quite a bit. And so I wanted to do one of those again as well because that's something a lot of people have been asking or curious about, really. And I think I have a great way to make it fun and goofy as possible in the way that I like to do things also. Yeah, so really it is like a fitness video for bows. I'm gonna poke fun at that dramatically because I just can't. YouTube just bothers me to no end. And it's not all about the views. And I think if you guys follow along enough, you know this isn't a career for me. So if I don't get a lot of views, it's not the end of the world. My family's not going to go hungry. But it is a little frustrating when you think that something's really good and people would enjoy it, and it just gets completely shut down. And I don't know how the algorithm works too, because the most recent one with the D&D, which was personally my favorite video I've done so far, has like a ton of people engaging with it, and YouTube always says like comments help and everything like that, but the views are like incredibly low. And so I'm more interested in the engagement as a whole, anyways, because the conversations I have with people who enjoy more like-minded stuff than me, like me, is what I really am happy about. So the views, like if it gets a lot of views and very little comments, that's actually more disheartening for me in a whole because I feel like, oh, people just clicked on the thumbnail and are like, oh, I'm done, or they don't watch it, or they didn't have anything to say, right? But with this most recent one, I had so much fun with everyone just kind of talking and geeking out about the D&D and the characters. I think that was for sure one of my absolute favorite videos. And so um, that was super cool. I'll figure out how to use live one of these days. If you're coming on, I apologize for the first 30 seconds or whatever because I was off camera trying to set it up. Super awkward. It's gonna be real embarrassing if this goes up online. But hey, we're here now. We made it. We're in it now. So the next thing is going to be more of a fitness type video but I like to do these just because I think people have really good ideas. And so I find an idea or someone kind of references something that would be a good one. And so if there's anything that you guys have, I just look at these like a conversation amongst friends, like brainstorming sessions, right? My lives, I feel like it is brainstorming where people have a question for me, have an idea for me, and then I try to figure out how to bring that to life. So they're always fun in that way. After that, I'm actually working with Cult of Athena. They're going to be sending me some more Roman stuff because the Greek fitness video was a really fun one for me to do. And I think the Romans had some really good criteria as well as far as in order to make it, in order to be a legionnaire. So I'm getting some Roman stuff from them. I have a bit already, but I think that would be an interesting topic as well because they had a very good regimented and documented training system. So I think that'll be a really fun one to kind of break into as well and do that also. I've heard of Bloom Neck. Yeah, no, he's a super nice guy. I think I've said it before. Back when I was doing TikTok, we chatted a bit here and there. You know, we were friends on the app, so to speak, and we would like comment on each other's videos. I'm friends with him on Instagram, and we've chatted back and forth here and there as well. So I really think he's fantastic. He's extremely acrobatic, very very good dex-based archer for sure. I saw he's doing some stuff with sellsword arts now, which is cool also. So he's kind of expanding into that. So I think he's great. He has he does a very good job of making stuff engaging, a very good job of making things fun and all that stuff like that. Are we gonna see the return of Maximus? Yes, no, yeah, that's gonna be definitely Maximus Gainicus's video. I think it's only fair that he gets it. I'm sure Sir Gaines would love to take that fitness video as his own, but I do think that 100% that's going to have to be his. So that'll be fun to bring back there as well. The only problem I have is that I can't really do in the full set of armor because the piece that I have is actually not super well fitted, so it's difficult for me to move and be agile in it. And so it'll be a little less in the full set. I'll do a few things in the armor as well, but I can't do as much like the runs and the hikes in it as well because it's not quite set up right. So I'll still be able to find a way to make it fun, I think, and enjoyable, but it's not going to be in the full Roman paraphernalia the whole time. There will be a playlist based on it. That's actually a good idea, honestly. That would be really funny if I was able to set that up that way. I think that's the one thing that's always been a little like, I'm always trying to figure out is like how to set up playlists. But more so than that, I try to think about like if someone comes into the channel not having any context, it's gonna look real weird. Just some dude chatting with himself. I think there's gonna be a little bit of confusion. So it's almost like the joke of the new like Marvel movies, right? Is that you need to do homework before each one, so to say. And I feel like in my channel, like there's a little bit of required reading before you dive in 100%. So that's one thing that I'm always like, man, do I need to do like an intro video or something like that? What if you did Tank? Honestly, that'd be really cool. Tank actually, and again, this was early on back in the TikTok days. Before I knew better. If you still on TikTok, totally cool. That's where I got my start. So I have no ill feelings towards the app necessarily. I just don't personally enjoy it as much anymore, nor like the shorts or anything. But he was actually, I think, what actually started me off down this entire path. When I first posted like my first ever video that actually got any traction was one of just me trying to pull back one of the heavy bows, and Tank actually stitched that. And that, I think, honestly opened up the door for everything that followed. So in reality, I think I definitely owe him a debt of gratitude because he really was the first one that did anything. He did, how he does his little stitches and everything. And it was like, that was my first like, whoa, there's a lot of people, and they all kind of ferried over onto my page, and it kind of blew up there. So that was like that was early on, and that was what really got me into it. And then after I spent a little bit of time over there, um, at Administrative Results, he actually reached out to me on Instagram, and he was the one who brought me into like the YouTube limelight, so to speak, and kind of got me started on YouTube as well, because he was talking about Instagram, and I was like, yeah, no, I've never really done YouTube. It makes me nervous because I feel like YouTube to me is like where the professionals hang out, and I was just like on Instagram doing short videos and everything. And so he was like, "What's the problem? You don't like money?" And I was like, "Okay, I guess I can see your point there." So that's what started me down that road as well. So I was able to kind of get things moving in that direction with the assistance of that as well. But as for the video that I'm working on with the fitness for the bow, it's just going to be training with heavy bows. I'm just getting them all set up, cleaned up as well. This is just a cleaning. So when you're working with a bow like this, the big thing is you don't need to like reseal it all the time. When you first get them, they usually seal them with linseed oil or a wax, and you just want to continue that if needed. This is just kind of like a polish and a clean because they do get dirty and grimy over time. The good thing about a longbow is there's very few moving parts to it. So there's not a ton that you need to worry about maintaining necessarily in the same way like a compound bow. But with these ones too, just kind of checking the horn knocks as well, because those get worn out over time also, and just cleaning those out is something that I like to try to do. And so making sure there's no sharp edges that form up, because that'll cut into your strings and just make it have a much shorter lifespan as well. But in other news, just to kind of keep the conversation with myself going as people come and go, is I'm fully booked for the trip to Germany. So I'm going to be going to Germany end of August for Gamescom, and that is the one that's going to be for the game that I'm doing with Insomnia Development for Spriggan. So we are finalizing that. My wife and I are going to be going, so that's going to be like immersion for her, because she's never, my nerd world is a little separate from her world in some ways, where she's very nerdy in some ways, but not in the ways that I am. So this is going to be a first for her. And then as well, we're going to probably try and do a joint live soon, but I am going to meet up with Dequitum as well. So that's something that we're probably going to announce, because he just started doing live streams as well. And so it's gonna be a lot of fun, because we're working on some videos, and we're gonna he's gonna have a set of armor for me. So Sir Gaines is gonna come, and we're gonna brawl, and then we're gonna do some archery stuff. I'm gonna try and bring the 130-pound bow, because he's like, "What's the lightest bow you have?" And I was like, "The lightest one I have is the 130, but it's older, so it's probably closer to like 120. It doesn't have quite the kick that it did." Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be in person, and we're gonna straight up throw down. And so I'm really excited to see how it goes, because I mean, if you guys follow along, you know that I know that it's different, because sorry, I lost my train of thought. That happens a lot when I'm doing these. Just be prepared as I jump around from thought to thought and don't even finish most of my thoughts. But what I was going to say is he's obviously extremely trained in his discipline. He does very good work. It's great to watch him. I do think I have a little bit of an advantage, because I get to see how he actually fights, and he doesn't necessarily know the ways that I engage. So having come from a wrestling and jiu-jitsu background with a little bit of stand-up, I'm not really trained with the sword in the way that he is, or any of those weapons. So that'll be really interesting for me to see how we stack up, because it's gonna be, I'm probably not gonna have a sword or weapon for very long, I feel like, but it's gonna be like kind of close the distance, see what I can do, kind of wrap up in there and roll from there. So I'm very excited about that. I've heard of the spear bow. I've seen it make the rounds. I've seen a lot of YouTubers like talking about it. I looked at it a little bit, and I kind of saw some of the videos, and I just didn't think that warranted a video, to be honest. I don't feel like there's a lot there that I would necessarily that I would necessarily want to add or say. So I don't know. It seems like, kind of trendy in a way, but really not anything that I would want to make a full video about or anything like that. So yes, my bowmates. Nice, man. That's awesome. Always good to do. Always good to do. 100%. So yes. So Gamescom's gonna be great. And the other cool thing is I'm working with the developers at Spriggan, and they're working with a designer because I did that little video where I was like making a tank archer, right? And so I've been going back and forth with them on Discord and everything, and they're designing an armor set for me specifically. And then they're going to try and see if that's something they can actually duplicate in real life, so I can actually have that for the event or for the venue. And so that's something I think hopefully I would get to keep. And then Dequetum, he sent me some stuff. He's in the process of making me some arms, because if you know, like the shoulder pauldrons that I have and some other stuff, and the gauntlets are all from him as well. So I'll have like more of a complete set. He's like, Sir Gaines can finally have something to cover his arms. So that'll be cool. So it's going to be a really great trip. It's going to be the first time my wife and I have gone away for some time, and we're just going to hang out. My mom and dad are going to watch the kiddos, so we're going to have a little bit of freedom there, and so it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be super cool. Yeah, no, I did jiu-jitsu for quite some time. I've done that for 8 years, purple belt, but it was something that it's like once I had all the kids, I had to put on the back burner. So I still do it with some friends occasionally, but I haven't competed in quite some time. So it's more low key now, like flow grappling. I think, coming up on 40, I don't go as hard anymore, but I'd like to get back in the competition soon and start competing, because that is the most fun part. It's like training is great, but I think the competition and like going in and like, having to cut weight and mentally prep for it is awesome. Obviously, the mental prep is not near as much as if you're doing a striking event, because worst case scenario, you get choked out, but you're really probably not going to get hurt. So that'll be fun. Like with Dequetum, it'll be fun to see how that's able to match up with what he does, because I watched quite a bit of his stuff as well, and so it's like it's interesting because I feel like the fight finishes a lot of times when they take it to the ground, but I feel there's a lot more longevity in that battle. So I don't know, because I've never done it. It could be once you're pinned down in armor, it's just heavy and you're toast, or maybe I could find or show something that's new to him by having that discipline. So it'll be cool to see. It's two completely different worlds meeting up, and so we'll see how that goes. Best bow to start with. Whew, I just like the gunshot. Yeah, it's true, honestly. What's the best bow to start with? Well, honestly, the best bow to start with is going to be the one you want to really learn. So if you want to start with a recurve bow, just start with a recurve bow. If you want to start with a long bow, start with a long bow. Compound, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to do any sort of bow, you can usually start. I always recommend the big thing is trying to gauge out what your draw weight is, because you don't want to overdo it right off the bat and kind of be stuck or stagnant and have a bow you can't use, like me with that 185-pound bow behind me that's just kind of hanging out there, just constantly judging me because I can't pull it back, which is a shame, because that's probably the bow I actually spent the most amount of money on, and it still sits idly just glaring at me as I constantly am too weak to pull it back. But I think, my love is, of course, the longbows. Recurves are, going to be superior as far as products go and everything. But Jiu-Jitsu or BJJ? Oh, no, BJJ is what I did the most. So BJJ was the one that I'd spent the most time with. I never did Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. I didn't have any studios here that practiced it, so it was just kind of that's what's accessible, and that's pretty trendy. There's so many BJJ gyms around where I live, and it's just such a hot thing. You go to any MMA gym, they're all practicing BJJ. So that's where I spent my time at. Discipline wise, it's like get a lot of Gracie and all that stuff. It's kind of the main curriculum where I have here. I did a little bit where I studied under the Roy Dean one. So Roy Dean's another black belt that has his own little studio as well. So it'd be like saying, like 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. So Roy Gracie was a little bit different than Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, but very similar as well. He didn't do like the Gracie combatives, so that was cool. He was a cool guy. I met with him, and he's the guy who advanced me as well for some of those belts. But where I live, there's just so many, man. Like anywhere you go, you throw a rock, you hit a jiu-jitsu studio. So there's some great ones. I do like a lot of the hard school Gracie gyms. I feel like they really do good guard pressure passing. They don't do the super fancy stuff like 10th Planet. Obviously a high level 10th Planet's gonna smoke me, but that doesn't work, I think, as often as like the defensive stuff because you don't really anticipate getting struck. So you can get a little more flexible with what you do. Let me see what I missed here. Um, Someone says 70, 60, but feels relate to me. So I mean, honestly, what I was gonna say before I got sidetracked, and like I said, par for the course, is try to go to if you're near or you live near any sort of archery, any store that has a range on it, even if it doesn't have a range, you can usually go in there and just say, "Hey, listen, I'm trying to gauge out my draw weight. Do you have varying bows that I can try?" And they'll let you try different draw weights as well, so you can kind of get a scope or an idea as to where you fall. Most of the time, any store you go to, though, they're not going to have anything over 55 pounds. It's super rare to find anything over 55. Everything else is going to be very custom, maybe 65, but most all modern hunting bows don't go over 65 pounds because it's not necessary, right? You're not hunting an armored deer, so you don't need to worry about that. So I would very much recommend just trying to start that out and see what's comfortable and also sort out what kind of archery you want to do. I do it for the love of the history and the tradition. So obviously my goals are going to be to get heavier and heavier bows to, see if I can punch through plate or, lob an arrow further. But it's not going to be super practical for hunting. So if you're gonna hunt or you're gonna do like Olympic style archery, you don't need to go super heavy because there's just no point to it. It's just you get diminishing returns, especially if an older bow, like a wooden bow, it's not gonna go as fast as the modern ones. It can loose a heavier arrow and everything, but there's not much benefit to it aside from just like a historical pursuit or passion to try to replicate what people did in that time range. Every character should have how long until Ranger gets it? Thoughts? I don't know. Deer in my area are pretty hardcore. That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, no, my kids. So I just jumped on that conversation. I feel like I'm jumping in. Sorry. Um, it's I feel like the kids don't. Oh, you ever let your kids equip some of your gear for Halloween? I feel like having it. So I don't let them equip it for Halloween, but I do let them come out there anytime they want to come out, or they follow me out there because that's in the back five. So if they're in the house or they're in swimming and they run out there, they're like, "Hey, Dad," I'm like, "Hey guys, what do you want to play with today?" Right? So I literally just open up the storage warehouse and anything they're feeling, I let them use it. They have their favorites. The littlest one, he really likes the spears. The oldest one, he likes bigger swords, I guess, and the middle one, he likes the warhammer. Honestly, so they all have a good time, and they just stay out there for like 15, 20 minutes, and then they run back in the house. So I don't let them take anything out because most of it is going to be something that is sharp or is dangerous. But it's going to be very common for 70, 80 pound compound. Yeah, no, compounds, you're right. So I guess I should have prefaced that a little clearer, is that when I'm talking about bows that are heavier, I'm talking about traditional bows. And so when it comes to hunting with traditional bows, you're not going to find many at that weight. Compounds are a lot easier to adjust, but the limbs for compounds and for traditional bows, they're not going to have as many at stock that are heavy like that. So if you go anywhere, like any website or anything, like let's say Three Rivers Archery is a really big one. It's rare to find anything there over 60 pounds, 65 pounds when it comes to traditional archery. That's not something that's very common. Compounds, you go anywhere, you can get one, or you can kind of increase the draw weight depending on the limbs. So that's not hard to do. But if you're trying to go the traditional route, it is a lot more difficult to try and find those heavier ones unless you go to someone who makes them custom, or is like an actual longbow maker or a recurve, traditional recurve maker, anything like that. None today. Pierce, yes, no, that it's true. We got range, we got close range, and they're all okay with the bow as well. I've tried the sling with them, but they don't really enjoy it as much. It's really difficult to kind of wrap your head around as a kid, and I feel as if they are like, okay, that's kind of lame. I don't like that. So my kids are not the biggest Slinger Sam fans, unfortunately, but still a good time as well. And so the purpose for this, what I'm doing now, is one, just cleaning the bows up because I'm going to do that next one. And I'm also just seeing if I can repurpose this arrow. This was one I actually found. I actually move the hay bales around every now and then. And this one was hanging out in the hay bales for like, I don't know how long, but it was actually still sealed and it was completely inside of there. So it doesn't look like it's overly damaged. So I'm just cleaning it up. I'm going to sand it down and reseal it and see if I can actually use it, because these are valuable commodities here. If you don't know, like each of these arrows, if you get a traditional arrow, if you have someone make it, like you're talking 60, 70 bucks for something like this. So I also know I need to straighten it. So I'm probably going to heat treat it to straighten it as well. But the actual ash shafts, they have to be very particular. You need the grain to be straight as well, because if you just go get dowels, wooden dowels, the grain of the wood a lot of times is at like 45 degrees of an angle or a different angle. But these ones, you want to have the grain be straight, so when it is loosed, it's going to function the way you want it to. So finding these good ones or making these good ones or getting proper ones is not as easy as just getting a piece of wood and whittling it down to make a good one. It takes a lot of extra work to get that going. Fair because he's a paladin. That's my sense. That's awesome. Oh no. And trying horse archery Mongol style, maybe you try to use a longbow instead of a regular composite for a video. That would be really cool. The 130 would be manageable for sure, because the longbows especially, they don't stack as much in the front as a recurve. So even if you're on a horse, you can get a draw. I can draw it probably 25, 26 inches, something like that. So it's not going to be very difficult to get enough to punch into something. Horseback riding is something I really do want to try one of these days. I never actually learned horseback riding. So it would be a skill that would be fun. It would be a great video as well. It's just I have a hard time doing videos in front of anyone. All the videos I've seen, unless it's been like an actual collaboration, um, is just always just me on my own, because it's just I'm making, I'm extremely silly on camera, as you know, and it's easy to be silly by myself if I'm in a field, but even like if my kids are out there and they're watching me, I'm super awkward around it. Um, it's hard. It's hard for me to do anything in public spaces. That's not my little comfort zone. So it limits me a little bit, and it's also really awkward for me to talk to people about, doing, like saying, hey, I have a YouTube channel, would you be interested in, like, I don't think I've done that yet in my life. I've never said, hey, I have a YouTube channel, would you mind if I came out and did something. I've used it like when I reached out to like some weapons companies, and I'm like, hey, I have a YouTube channel, can I possibly interest you in, a collaboration of sorts where I get a weapon and I, mention your company or anything. But when it comes to in person, like that's a very awkward thing. And I'm very far removed in my real life from the social media. I'm sure that a lot of you probably guessed by now, but my actual name isn't Dash Rendar. And so even that is like, everything as a whole, I'm just usually a very private person, I guess you could say. And so I try to keep that like part of my life in a way like removed, so not everyone knows who I am, just because that's just silly like that. But I love to engage with people and talk with people. And if you haven't, by the way, um, I don't know if you've seen, we have a Discord now. Some people were kind enough to help set me up with one. And so that's been a learning experience for me because it's a lot busier than like YouTube, because there's a lot of conversations going on. So it's not like in the comment section where you go back and forth once or twice. But I've had a really good time on there as well. So if you want to, I have new links on my bottom of my videos to the Discord channel. And I'm not always on it, but there's some people on there that are really fantastic. Um, and so they're great at conversing. So we're having good conversations, a lot of fun, good ideas there as well. You don't daily drive the outright? No, no. Sorry, no. Um, Nerd here. I have a cheap Walmart buy about 70 compound bow and some carbon fiber shafts. And I love it. It's fun. My kid. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. Thanks, man. No, I consider myself a hobbyist as well. I'm not a hunter. I've never actually hunt with any of the bows, and never thought the sling either. I don't think I'm good enough to do that. But yeah, it's just the drive to try and be better at a skill, and just have fun with it, and also just kind of create your own stories. And that's why I think the D&D video was one of my favorite, because that was like the culmination of all the characters that I've been building up over the year or so since I introduced them, is that people understand them enough there I can actually make a video like that, and it's recognizable, right? That's such a fun, cool thing to me, that I was able to well, hey, no, we don't talk about the two orcs. They don't count, right? Something with horses, probably the only opportunity. Well, he did do something with horses for sure. I mean, he got he got he did get lanced with someone on a horse, you know. But no, we have like 4 video ideas we're trying to do, because the first day I fly into Germany, I'm gonna literally land at like 6:30 in the morning, and I'm gonna go straight to where he is, and it's like an hour and a half drive, and we're gonna start there. So I'm gonna be very sleep deprived, jet lagged, and we're just gonna throw down. So we have some ideas ready, and we're gonna refine it as we get closer to it as well. But that's just gonna be, it's gonna be a grand old time. I can't tell you how excited I am for that. More excited about that than I am for Gamescom. You know, Gamescom is gonna be great, but that's a new level of like is like immersion again into the world for me, because I've never been to like a convention. So I'm gonna be a little gun shy there. I think it's gonna be a lot. I may need some liquid courage, because I'm a lot more outgoing with a few beers. I will say that from experience. Um, CIS are looking, also looking sorry for mistakes. Hey, bro, are you know that people from CIS? I don't know what that is. In mythological heroes like Theseus. That is a good idea. Did I do that? You know what? It kind of blurs together. I think I did some shorts about that, but that would be a really good one. I know they just did the movie with Ralph Fiennes, the Return, I think, and so like it is kind of in like the public eye, and I know that Christopher Nolan's doing the Odyssey as well. So I think yeah, that's one thing I've thought about, like trying to replicate that, and I think that it would be an interesting thing to do. I would probably want to do it with cardboard, so I don't break a bunch of arrows, because I'm just trying to think about it, like when the arrow springs off, man, it doesn't go straight, right? Like there's a lot of bend in the wood. So to have an arrow go directly through something, multiple ones, the arrow would have to be completely rigid. And I feel it would be easier with like a compound bow and a heavy carbon, or even like aluminum shaft, where it's not bending as much as the wood, but there's so much movement in it that unless you're far enough away to where the arrow starts to straighten out, it's not going to make it because it's going to hit and bend in there. So I don't know exactly how that would pan out. It's a good idea, but I think that I'm trying to figure out how that would work out, and I don't want to lose all my arrows trying to make it through axe heads. So I can mock something up, but that would be a fun one to go into, like legendary or ancient heroes as well, or even like Heracles, right? Heracles was an archer as well, so that would be a really fun one to do, because he's obviously, who's the strongest archer? Well, it would be Heracles, because he's the guy. So I think that would be a really interesting one, because a lot of people think of him just as like the strong guy, right? But he did have a pretty rich history as an archer as well. So I think there's a lot of it's rich for creating videos about, and it would just be a fun one because it would be like another history deep dive, and I love writing them out as much as I do actually performing them, because honestly that actually does take a lot longer, as I'm sure you guys would imagine. Like trying to think of something is not super difficult, or even once you have it all written down and out, you just kind of make some shots, do your conversations. Those take less time than actually writing everything out and wrapping your head around like what a video would be. So those ones I like that are a little more conversationally heavy too, because I tend to lose less of my arsenal every time I go out. Any archery video I do, there's a high probability I'll lose like 1 or 2 arrows, and that tends to run up in the expense area as well. So that's one thing that kind of goes there. That would be fun. Yeah, that's funny. Commonwealth, independent states like Russia, Ukraine, other Commonwealth. I'm a little lost in the sauce with that. I apologize. Ever attend a Ren fair from a video I think caused arrogance? So, oh, you're welcome, man. Disney kind of ruined everyone for generations on how to say his name. It was like Disney was like, this is the name now, it's Hercules. And then probably because it rhymed better with the songs. I would imagine in Heracles, that would be a bit harder to make rhyme. And I think everybody just thinks that's what it is now. As far as the Ren Fair, I've never done a Ren Fair, but I do, and I have for the past 2 years, I have gone out to what's called War of the Barons. So if you don't know what War of the Barons is, that's a historical reenactment, I would say. So they don't call it LARPing, but for all intents and purposes, it's pretty close to it. And that's something I would have never ever done if the guy who runs it didn't reach out to me. It's put on by Fell and Fair, and they make a lot of reenactment stuff and Renaissance type apparel or medieval type apparel. And so he actually reached out to me. He's like, hey, we have this thing, and it's going to be the War of the Barons, and it takes place during, the 13th, 14th century with the War of the Barons, where the Barons revolt against King John, so the loyalists, and like the Barons, the separatists. And you would play a baron that's in charge of an all archery barony. And so I was like, all right, this is a bit out of my zone, man, but I'll give it a shot. So I went out there, and the thing that was cool to me is it's like a closed event to the public. So everyone who's out there is 100% in it to win it, so to speak, where there's not like an outsider that's like coming in normal day clothes and looking at you like, this guy's kind of a nerd. It's just everyone who's there. So there's like 300, 400 people there, and you have like acting parts and you have battles, and the battles are basically done with like, they have the foam weapons, you have like the little bopper arrows with like 20-pound bows, right? So it was something entirely new to me, but I had a lot of fun with it. Everyone was really cool. They were all in it for sure, where it didn't feel like you were out of place, or I didn't feel awkward about it. And so that's the only thing I've done. I did that past 2 years. That's out in South Carolina. So that's one of those things where they were like kind enough to fly me out there just to do that event. and they're gonna do it again as well. And they sent me another invite for it. So that's another thing that I'll probably do again, just because I've kind of got a feel for it, and they're willing to do that as well. So Dash Rendars Rangers, yes, if you're interested in, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, drinks and dress up, yes, 100%. Just yeah, honestly, and that was the one thing that got me into character, shall we call it, because you play a character when you go. It's even awkward just talking about it. You you play a character when you go there, and it's like, they want you to be in character, because the people who go there go for the experience. And so I like picked a character, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. So the first thing I did was I got there and I drank. They have honeyed mead, which by the way is freaking delicious. And I instantly just went there and I had like six in a row. One, two, three, four, five, six. And if I drink beer, I can drink it very, very well. But it loosens me up substantially. So once I did that, I was really able to dive into it and just let the inhibitions go. And I had an amazing time. And then since that moment, it's been a lot easier to go back because people know me and I have fun just diving in. But it is still, definitely on the fringe of what I'm comfortable doing, but I have a great time. Look like Heracles, how long you trained? So I have been training seriously for probably 6 or so years. I was always active, and so even when I was younger, I would always be active in what I do, but I was never like lean, I would say. I was always just bigger, and that's like my natural body weight, I guess, is I'm just a much larger individual, so it's easier for me to put on mass, but I also gain weight a lot quicker as well. But I got serious about like my diet and exercise and everything probably 6 or 7 years ago, and I've been very, very consistent in that time frame. So I just don't really, go off the radar too much. I'm a lot less strict than I was even just 2 years ago. Because I think if you go back to like even my earlier videos when I started the channel, I was like a lot leaner. I was incredibly lean when I did those. Yeah, I think this one broke too, which sucks. But it's good because I actually need 5 of these to take when I go to the Queedom, because we're going to mount his non-sharpened arrowheads on them to test those out. So I'm going to cut this one off and get this arrow ready to go to Germany with me, which is going to be super exciting. But yeah, no, I've just been very consistent with it as well. So I've just stuck with that, and then I enjoy the grind of it, the challenge of it, trying to stay active, trying to stay fit. It's a lot of work, but it's fun for me for sure. Where's my saw? Let's see. Any interest in doing AC Odyssey themed episode with the broken spear? You could pull off Alexios. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Alexios would be cool. That's a cool character. I don't know. That the gaming ones are definitely fun ones. I do enjoy those also. So I think that it's just whatever pops into my head at the moment, I just kind of run with. So keep them coming, guys, because I get a lot of good ideas by doing these live streams as well. And this is another one I'm going to take because this arrowhead's broken. Another one going to Germany with me. Oh, hold on. Okay, guys, I think I got to go. My wife was out with some friends, and I think she just got home. So I was doing this until she was gone. But now that she's home, I'm probably going to go. Or my kids are awake. Sorry, these things end abruptly. I had fun with you guys. Thanks for chilling. Sorry, this is a horrible live, I think, but I'll see you guys soon.